It's so hard to not abuse animals.
It's Grump Day.
Carnies can fuck themselves. Go fuck themselves.
This is a show for vegans. This is a show for vegans. This is a show for
So today we have a very special guest. It's Wednesday, and it's been a while since we didn't do a Grump Day this week, so I'm going to bring him right on. What do you say? Here we go. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
The one and only Dan Shepard. I'm fantastic. My coffee is cold, but I'm staying in a place where the coffee is always cold, and I find that bizarre. I'm not sure if their urns are. I'm not going to diagnose the problem. I was going to, but then I thought better of it. Why diagnose other people's problems? Don't we do enough of that?
Yeah, we do. And cold coffee. I mean, you could just drop a few ice cubes in it and have an iced coffee because it looks nice and warm where you are. Although it is storming here, we've got some named storm attacking us at the moment. So yeah, it's crazy at the moment.
Yeah. I'm in the Midwest where it's actually not very warm, but they have giant. I'm in a place with a giant fire next to me. There's a fire roaring next to me, and check this out. Can you see that? Oh crap! This is the wrong. Hold on a moment. I'm gonna camera, webcam. Let's try that. How's that? Okay, now can you see? Yeah.
Oh my God! What is?
The whole place is decorated with dead animals. They're on many walls.
Is it previous guests and stuff? Have you got any previous guests sort of mounted anywhere?
Yeah, the dead animals mounted on the walls. They're all
someone who abused the minibar and have them strung up.
Yeah, they tried to skip out on their tab, and so they mounted them on the walls. There are a few deer, a few elk, and various animals around. Fish. There's some fish on the walls. It's been fun, but it is cold. But there's a roaring fire next to me, which is why I'm in a t-shirt. But I'll be driving 15 hours today, Dan, to even a colder location.
Oh, you just a short trip then? You're talking to a trucker, 15-hour trip.
15 hours. Well, I'm lucky if it's a 15. It'll probably be closer to 16 or 17 because I am in a truck. But
let's have a look who's on. Let's have a look who's on. We can't just ignore the audience. Hello, Michael Askew. Hello, The Real Thing. Thank you for joining on my channel. Dave from Bonnie, Scotland. Hello there. Vegan Pixie Warrior. How are you? Long time no see. Yeah, I've got some nice people.
Yeah, there's plenty of people watching on your channel. Hey,
I think we're pretty even actually.
Peter,
can we go from this extreme close-up shit? Because I don't like it.
Yeah, sure, of course I can. Yeah. Sorry. So cool. Better. It's actually nice big breath.
It's like they're holding in the stomach, on the beach. He's like, oh, I can relax now.
So, Cole, no, PETA does not book the hotels. What happens is, while we're on the road, we look for places that are $100 or less, and so we go. About 24 hours so that no one really knows where we're going to be from one day to the next. And about 24 hours before we're supposed to be sleeping, we get online and we see if we can get a hotel. We don't know what the decorations are going to be like when we get here. It's not like we're flying a little blind when it comes to booking a hotel. Yeah. Neil, all the way from Canada.
Hey, Neil. Hey.
So, yeah.
It's been a funny old month and a half for me.
Are you're doing your acting all the way in Jolly?
Well, I was supposed to be going to Poland tomorrow at 4 a.m. to shoot a movie as playing an Auschwitz prisoner. But I got a call yesterday that there's going to be a bit of a storm hit in Poland, snow and everything. So they've postponed it until Monday. which is like just really affected me. It's just like I was already in sight, ready to
Yeah.
go, and then they've changed it around, so it's just a bit of a thingy. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's a really it's a very emotive story about 10 guys who were condemned to death in Auschwitz-Birkenau's one of the cells in Block 11 to starve to death, basically, because one prisoner escaped. It was before the extermination camps were in full flow. It was like for political prisoners, mentally disabled, gay people. It was all those types of people. Thank you, boss man. And Maximilian Kolbe, who is now Saint Maximilian Kolbe, took the place of one guy who wasn't a permanent prisoner. He was going to be released in the duration sometime. And he said, look, I've got a wife and kids. I can't be condemned to death. So this Maximilian Kolbe said, who was a Catholic priest, he said, right, well, I will take his place. And the story is a claustrophobic story about 10 guys in a cell starving to death and how they...
Wow.
And I did get a lead role in this. I was one of the prisoners, but unfortunately it meant 6 weeks away from home and 6 weeks out of circulation in the British acting world, which could have been very detrimental to me. So they found another role, which I play a prisoner who's on the outside and has interactions on the outside. So I've got the best of both worlds, I think. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I mean, I think they should make you a capo, right? You should be one of the guards.
I'm very much
you got more of that scowl, you know. You got a great
scowl. I'm a bully guy. I'm a bit of a bully in the camp.
Yeah.
I'm a long-term prisoner and a bit of a bully. I think I'm a communist as well. But then I sort of come round and realise and the softer side of me comes out. So it's a great sort of dual role of my transition from hard-faced prisoner to a compassionate man. So I think it fits in with my vegan ideals as well, you know. So it's nice, and the whole Auschwitz thing as well is a nice sort of wink to what we do to animals in the world. It's a mass murder. I'm not comparing it to Jews, people. I'm not comparing it to gays. I'm not comparing it to communists. Before you start, I'm comparing the act of taking many, many bodies and using them and abusing them.
You're comparing the oppressors. You're comparing the oppressors.
Of course.
Are you allowed to have beards in Auschwitz? Because you know today is National Beardless Day.
Well, beards are out anyway. Mustaches are in. Now I've shaved my mustache off because for the simple reason they said that they want it to me to be stubbly, because I don't think they allowed beards and mustaches in Auschwitz. I think any identifying or unique features on people weren't allowed in that. They wanted everybody to be cloned and take away their identities. So National Beard Day, amazing.
National No Beard
No
Day.
beard today. So it really is a nice ladies' day today.
It is.
Yeah.
It says
although I know a
18th.
few ladies with beautiful beards. So
No Beard Day is to see what you look like without your beard. So it's great because the idea is that you shave it today in preparation for No Shave November. And No Shave November, of course, is the month where we don't shave at all. Let it grow in order to raise awareness for men's health. And every year I try to raise awareness for men's health, especially in how it connects to eating animals and how it causes the number one cause of death in men, which is heart failure.
Hold on a minute. What are you doing? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Are you saying veganism is about health? What are you saying there? Oh,
No, I'm
don't be
not.
saying that. Oh,
No, I'm not.
Oh, don't say that, Sky.
I'm not saying that.
Don't ever say that appropriately planned vegan diet is actually good for health and which is a gateway in for many, many people who really don't give a shit about animals, but the only way we can get them in is to tell them the health benefits of it. Don't do that, mate.
Well, I'm not exactly doing that, but I suppose I could be accused of such.
This is something I want to talk about, and I want to talk about my last video.
Okay.
So
you want to
basically,
talk about your rant video, you
it's
stare
hard.
at the camera. You stare at the camera and say the movement is dead.
I want to tell you the story behind that because it's hard. 1.6k views, 1,600 views, mate. I do a story from outside a gas chamber and I get 400 or 500 views. I jump on here and do a rant, and he gets 1.6 thousand views. It's like,
Maybe I should do more like that.
but right, so this is the kicker on it, right? So I was watching a TV documentary on Netflix about Tupac Shakur and about his mother, Ifani Shakur,
Yeah.
Afina Shakur, and how she was in the Black
I call her Mrs. Shakur.
Mrs. Shakur, and she was in the Black Panthers, and she was fighting for civil rights for Black people and all this stuff. And it really sort of resonated with me about how we, you know, a lot of people say, you know, if you're vegan, you've got to be out there and you've got to be advocating for animals. But how many Black people in America at that time who were totally against it because they were the victims of the oppression, but they didn't do anything about it? They didn't join the Black Panthers. They didn't join these movements. They just were against it, but just like, you know, sat there and didn't do anything about it. And it just got me thinking about veganism, and it really got me sort of motivated just to speak from the heart. Because another thing that's happened to me is I've gone through a real period of depression over the last month. My ADHD has really sort of smacked me down, and it's not been good. I had a problem with kidney stones. I'm being investigated for the kidney stones. And my brain's been telling me that it's cancer, and I had to go for a CT scan last week. I'll get the results next week. So I really got myself in a dark, down place. And that video came off the back of everything, you know, and I thought, fuck it. I'm not going to hide my neurodiversity anymore. I'm just going to speak my mind. I'm not going to watch what I say. I'm not going to mask. I'm not going to say things to please people like I've done all my life. And I've had to all my life, even in front of family. I feel conveyed to be a people pleaser, and I shouldn't be. I should be myself, and the odd things that I do, I should just celebrate them. And so I went on there and I just spoke my mind, and I didn't edit it. I didn't cut anything. The only thing I did cut were pauses, long pauses when I was going, saying all sorts of things. But what I found is, I've gone through the comments, and a lot of the comments, I find it hard to express myself properly, and a lot of people sort of, you have to look around what I'm saying and look deeply in what I'm saying and think, well, this guy's been advocating for animals for 6-7 years now. Why would he say this? Why would he say that? Maybe he doesn't really mean that. But a lot of people are incapable of doing that. Everybody's aware of my ADHD. Everybody's aware that I fight for the animals. Everyone knows I'm a strong voice, and I don't take no shit, and I wouldn't accept people going vegan for health. And the comments have got, some of them, like when I talk about gatekeeping, it's amazing how many people assume it's about them. You know, people have come on the comments and they've said, oh yeah, you said you've told them to fuck off, and those are my friends. I'm like, how can they be your friends?
I mean, if I had a nickel for every time where I've said something and someone's like, you called me out while you were on your stream, and I was like, dude, you were not the one on my mind. You were not the person I was talking about.
I mean, just shut your ears for a minute. I mean, even Roger Yates has put a comment on there, and I'm not even directed at him. It's not even directed at him. The gatekeepers I'm talking about are the ones on Facebook and other social medias who are very much anonymous keyboard warriors who, when somebody comes on and says, yeah, I've found out that the vegan diet, I've lost loads of weight on the vegan diet. And then they come on and say, yeah, fucking veganism isn't a diet. You are not for the animals. It's a philosophy. It's protect the animals. It's anti-oppression. It's anti this. It's anti that. It's like, whoa, hold on a minute. This person, right, has boycotted an industry that is responsible for the oppression and murder of billions and billions of animals. Okay. They might have got the wrong end of the stick now, and they're going down a road that they perceive is the right one, and they're not aware of everything behind that. But let them get comfortable in that room now, and then we don't hit them straight away with this.
Well, you know that I'm mostly with you, right? I'm all the way with you. I just, with the caveat that I do reserve the right to kind of criticize those who are kind of, I would say, vegan influencers or those vegan people with following. You know, like if you've got, say, 19,000 subscribers and you're saying something that I think is antithetical to the movement, I think we should be scrutinizing each other. But if you're just some new vegan who comes out and is like, hey, I lost a bunch of weight, I'm like, hey, good on you. Like, I don't know, it seems weird that I feel like if you have a ton of subscribers and you've been vegan for a long time and you're saying shit that I think is really against kind of the ethos of veganism, then you should be called out. But if you're just some new vegan who's like, hey, I'm just exploring this, like you kind of described just now, like someone who's maybe is got the wrong end of the stick, as you put it, then support them. Like where's the support for new vegans?
I mean, I am in no way supporting anybody who shouts out and says veganism is a great diet. Veganism is really a great stance on the environmental issues. Yeah, I'm in no way saying that's fine for them to say that, and I'm not saying do not pull them to one side. What I'm saying is that people need to get exposed to veganism who wouldn't normally. Now, I've said this a million times before, is I live in a town where people really don't give a shit about animals. A lot of people don't give a shit about the animals,
Well, we live in a world that's like that, right?
Yeah, of course. And I came into this movement via Vegan for Health, right?
Yeah.
What I thought, and I've always said this is the way I got in. Now, you telling me that if I'd have gone Vegan for Health and been absolutely hammered with people giving me a load of shit and saying this and saying that, I may have pulled away from it. I may not have bothered. I may have thought, whoa, what's this? This is a bit of a toxic fucking community that I don't want any part of this. I'll just go vegetarian or something, or I'll just eat a balanced diet. But I didn't,
It does definitely keep people from activism. And I want to take something back. I mean, I think that most people do care about animals. They just don't. There's billions of dollars being spent keeping them from seeing the truth of what they're doing, right? If you eat a cow that's been hammered into the size of a hockey puck and it's been delivered between two slices of bread, you don't realize what you've done. You don't realize all the pain, torture, rape that you've funded. And so it's a little bit it's funny because I've been in these conversations yesterday on University of Madison, and people will be like, well, everyone disagrees with you. And I'm like, I don't think so. If you saw me stabbing a pig in the street, you'd be really upset. But once you put it behind a slaughterhouse door and you hammer that pig into a tiny banana-sized piece and you put that between a bun, then all of a sudden it's okay. And it's because you're a couple steps removed. It's been hidden from you. You haven't seen the gas chambers. But when I start telling you about the gas chambers, all of a sudden you balk. That means that you give a shit. Most people do care about animals. It's just that billions of dollars are being spent to keep them from.
When I say they don't care about animals, I mean people love the dogs in the UK and all this stuff. Yeah,
yeah, they love the dogs.
Yeah, they love the dogs. But what I'm saying is people don't really care to know what's going on. They don't care. Yeah. And to get those people to look at veganism is the stopgap that I'm trying to sort of get over is like I said before, I'm not saying that we don't give people and tell people what veganism and its philosophy and what it's really about. And I'm not saying we don't do that. What I'm saying is that sometimes we've got to find ways of get people exposed to veganism. And if it means mentioning a diet, mentioning the environmental benefits, yes, we can bring him in that way. But then, we hit him with the animal rights message. Of course we do. I'm never saying we don't do that. But the problem we've got in societies, and we all live in societies where there's people who have no idea about veganism and have no care to look at it. People won't even look at a healthy diet until something goes really wrong with the bodies. People won't even consider giving up smoking until they get that little gypsy warning that something might be wrong with the lungs, or
gypsy warning.
It's called a gypsy. It's a saying in the UK. It's a gypsy warning. It's like
when you cough up blood.
When you something like that. Yeah, it's just
when you cough up blood, you're like, maybe I should quit smoking. Cigarettes, maybe not for me.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, interpret the video how you want. Turning veganese is shit. Here we go again.
Yeah.
It's like turning veganese. I understand your frustration, and Believe me, I'm not trying to put an alternative message out there about veganism.
I like your rant. I thought it was great because I thought like, oh shit, is he talking about me? Just joking. Everyone else thought you were talking about me. Omnipotent is the word of the day. It's describing someone or someone has something completely unlimited power. That's like you. You have the unlimited power.
Well, hold on a minute. I mean, I could have been referencing you in that rant as well because I think,
Oh no.
lifting vegan logic. You've got a little bit of a problem with
Yeah.
him, and I don't see what your problem is with lifting vegan logic. What's your problem with that guy? Do you want to? We can sweep past it if you want, or we don't.
I
have
mean,
to talk about
if you'd
it.
like me to go over it, I mean, I think that lifting vegan logic spends a lot of time telling people why it's okay to use animals under certain circumstances, and I don't think that that's anybody with the word vegan in their name with 20,000 subscribers should be saying shit like that. Either you're for using animals or you're against it. Stop trying to figure out ways to.
What ways has he been advocating to use animals? In what way?
Backyard hens, used chickens, buying used chickens, buying, backyard eggs, finding eggs. If you find them, it's okay. Finding feathers. If you find a feather, it's okay. I can't remember what he said about bivalves, but I wouldn't put it past him that it's okay to eat a bivalve. I mean, he's just another one of these lily-livered welfareists that bother me because I'm sick and tired of dealing with, like, for example, that I'm involved in like the anti-feather campaigns when it comes to Jim Henson Company. 100% of the people I've talked to about it think that those feathers are just found, that they're just like, the feathers fall off of animals and we pick them up and we use them to make puppets. It's simply not the case. As soon as you assign a dollar sign to any part of an animal, then you've created exploitation. You've led us down the road of iniquity, and it's frustrating to have someone like him spend so much time on, it's only logical that it's okay to, there's no rights violation. And it's just simply, that's not what veganism is. It's not just, no rights violation, perfectly okay. She was asleep while it was happening. And it's simply, to me, it's very frustrating to have someone in the vegan world really promoting that type of language. Really promoting that.
Sorry, it's not too loud, your background noise, don't worry, mate.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, my views on I mean, I've spoken about roadkill, and I've always put a caveat on the end of roadkill. I mean, if it's a free animal that's died naturally or been run over, I can't see anything morally wrong as to use that animal as food. But in the caveat is, if you found a human at the side of the road that dead, you would be happy enough to eat the human remains as well. And you would have to be pretty desperate and in desperate need of food before you die to actually eat roadkill or a dead human.
I get that, but if we're all existing in a vacuum, I think those conversations are kind of fun to have. But the truth is, I lived in a state where people were literally outside of hunting season running down deer because you could kill them with your car legally and then strip them of their back steaks.
And this is exactly what I mean. It is like people talk about backyard eggs and they say there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with getting rescue hens. They leave the eggs there. You leave them for a few days. If the hen doesn't touch them, you can pick them up and you can eat them. But what happens is this slippery, slimy road is where, you get more and more. And before you know it, you've got like 2 dozen more than you need. And then a neighbor comes up and says, I'll tell you what, I'll mow your lawn for those 12 eggs. Now you've made an interaction. Yeah, of course it is.
And it always has. And people will be like, well, that's a slippery slope. It's not. That's the fallacy. Don't forget, there's something called a fallacy, that just because you perceive a fallacy doesn't mean it is one. And a slippery slope is not, because historically, every single time we use someone else, it leads to exploitation at a larger scale. And I don't care if you're making dream catchers or putting the feather in your hat, when you use an animal, it leads to that. And it's funny because Vina Moinian just put out like not immoral but not vegan. You could make a case that it's not immoral, but it's not vegan. Veganism is not using animals. It's not hard to not use animals as a statement, as a political movement, to say we are not going to contribute to that. and that's it. And if you want to call it yourself lifting logic, that's what he should change his name to. And this is why I get frustrated, you see, because I'm sick of quote unquote vegans spending countless hours trying to figure out why it's okay to use an animal rather than the opposite, explaining why it's not okay to use an animal. That's what veganism is. It's the opposite of what he's doing. And sometimes utilitarians don't eat animals, like Peter Singer, but that doesn't make him vegan. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, I mean, this gatekeeping of veganism. I'm gonna just specify what I meant by that was exactly what I said before. It's the gang mentality of jumping on somebody who's misinformed about veganism, and instead of having a polite conversation with them and saying, you know, that is fucking great that you've stopped eating animals and it's not in your diet anymore.
Yeah.
What could you just look at this? You know, look at your choices of detergents and cleaning products. Could you look at maybe what you wear? You know, and it's not being an apologetic vegan. It's just trying to guide people into the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, that's exactly what I mean. It's like
there's a time and a place. You've got to read the room.
Well, I guess that's what I mean, though, Dan. It's like guiding people in the right direction is exactly where I expect people like him. Like, I remember when I had the conversation with him on his live stream, and I'm like, dude, I'm kind of disappointed. And he makes a big joke about it because I hold him and others like him to a different standard than I do what you just described. Like a person who's like, hey, I want to stop eating animals. I'm like, cool. I'm not gonna rake that person and try to tell them, well, you better look. I would never do that. But someone who is online making claims about something that I care about, he's a claims maker, and he's making claims that I think are 100% against what veganism is. And that's a different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to clarify to the audience, anybody streaming on Sky's channel, you won't see. Anybody who's on my channel, you won't see. Anybody who's putting comments on Sky's channel.
Yeah, Dave is here.
That's why I'm seeing different comments. I'm seeing all comments. You're only seeing comments on my channel.
Yeah, it depends on what channel you're on. I can see all the comments. You can see all the comments, but they can only see their. Yeah.
But but like I said, Sky, it's had an amazing response. And another thing we should do as influencers and to use our channels is to promote people to talk. You know, yeah. I mean, I've always done it. I've always just knee-jerk reacted to stuff because of the way my brain's wired. I'll just come out there and I'll say blah 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 blah, and then I'll get corrected, and then I'll go, okay, so I was wrong about that. But I won't change anything. You know, it's just an evolution of the way I'm thinking. I'm not a great philosopher. Someone said, "Wasn't you shitting on consequentialist in another video?" And I'm like, I don't see things like that. I see things as black and white. Unfortunately, I'm not a philosopher. I don't know big words. I don't subscribe to it all. Right? I see what's wrong and I try and put it right. That's all I do. I tell people, you know, what's wrong, what's right, what I see as wrong and right. I don't want to go down this philosophical route because I haven't got the logical sort of attention span to do all this lovely chatting away that people do. You know, I'm an action guy, not a talking guy. This is why you don't see many sort of rants like I've got on. But I think we should promote talking, and we shouldn't sit on the fence, and we should push ideas out there, whether they're wrong or they're right. So sometimes, we shouldn't feel like we've got to be exactly on point and correct every time. We should put things out there. And that's what I did with that. I knew people had misconstrued what I was talking about. I knew people had read into it their own sort of ideas and use it. But the majority of the comments has been very, very positive.
I mean, everyone's positive when it comes to you. You always get everyone's positivity.
Oh, like, believe me, no, I get some horrible people. Just eat meat and all this stuff. You know, I get some horrible comments, and it does get to me. But that's another thing that I wanted to talk about. I mean, I've only mentioned one guy there, and it was Andy, who came into the movement. He started doing some videos. He did amazing stuff. He talked about the history of veganism.
Andy Atkinson. He started talking about history of veganism when he was with Roger.
Yeah, and he was doing a great job. He was doing a smashing job. But what happened was he just saw the futility of what he was doing. It was just he was trying to get things across, but what he's not understanding is people. People will not subscribe to that straight away. It's too deep, you know.
Mhm.
It's correct, absolutely correct, but it's too deep for people. We're talking about normal people, happy
Yeah.
people who are happy in their lives, right? They're happy doing what they're doing. The horrible, murderous, scandalous things that they do in their lives, but they see
Well,
it as
they're
normality. And
dumb, fat, and happy, right?
we've got to be pragmatic about it, right? People in their eyes are doing something legal, normal, every
Mhm.
day. They're just eating food. They're just wearing clothes, whether it be leather or feather stuffed quilts or down or whatever. They're using products. They're not aware it. They're just doing a normal thing. They don't see it, and we've got to accept that people see it as normality. And another thing we've got to accept is people live in societies, and people can live in small village areas where
Yeah.
they are the loners. And especially for young people, it's very hard for young people who are trying to make the way and trying to find their tribes to make themselves an
Yeah.
outsider. You know, we've got a lot of dynamics to think about when we're asking people to subscribe to the philosophy.
Yeah, and I talked to a kid yesterday at UMadison that said that he'd been vegan since he was like 14 years old and thought that he was the only one until he went to college. And his freshman year of college, COVID was here, you know. So now he's a junior, and he's like, I never met anybody until I came to, you know, he never met another vegan. And it's kind of fascinating to me that he grew up on the outskirts of Chicago and just didn't know any other vegans. And a lot of people are in that situation. Absolutely. I think with Andy is that he's making stuff that seems geared towards vegans, but he's expecting non-vegans to watch it. And it's like no one cares outside of us who the hell.
It's got to be exceptional for
Yeah.
to get non-vegans to watch it, such as Seaspiracy or Cowspiracy or What the Health, or you know, what that draw you in with it, with an amazing story, with an amazing production team, with amazing locations, and
Mhm.
that's the only way you're going to get non-vegans to watch anything like that. And also, you know, it's like the thing with a friend of mine, Laura. You know, somebody asked the question on Facebook, "What made you go vegan?" And she put Joey Carbstrong and Earthling Ed. And
Mhm.
Andy jumped on her with that, saying you shouldn't be sort of putting these people on a pedestal, this and that, and you know, and it's like, well, hold on a minute, you know, if somebody explains something to you on this big platform, when you put a
Mhm.
Google search in about veganism, animal rights, or whatever, and the first video that pops up is Joey Carbstrong because he's got such a massive following, or
Mhm.
Earthling Ed because they got massive followings and they make it a full-time career.
Yeah.
What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? You know, it could be the opposite. You could get anti-vegan channels,
Well,
right?
right,
That pop up,
exactly.
as opposed to vegan channels.
And I get that you'd want to criticize and scrutinize our kind of, you know, the Earthling Eds of the world because they are big and they are kind of icons in our movement, whether or not you like it, they are. So I mean, to scrutinize them, I think is fair play, but I don't think that's gatekeeping. I think gatekeeping is keeping new vegans from coming
No,
in.
I'm not
You know what I
saying
mean?
that's gatekeeping. What I'm saying is that people are saying that people shouldn't make a living out of veganism, but it isn't making a living, is it? It's like a charity. It's being funded to do it full time, which is, I mean, I struggle to make one video a week. In fact, I haven't made videos for quite a while now,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's not through the lack of not being able to. It's through the lack of not being able to think.
I've always
I
found
need
this
time to think.
I've always found that position so funny about like, oh, they don't like them because they make money or whatever. But like, Roger was a professor and he made money talking. And Gary Francione is a professor and makes money at Rutgers talking. If you're saying that our movement has to be, we're all going to be taking vows of of poverty like the Catholics and living in black. Why don't we all just put black robes and abstain from sex as well? Because that's what we're talking about at that point. Like, no, you have to be pure and nothing. I live in America. I'd like to be a full-time activist. I'm traveling America, working very hard right now, and I'm pulling a paycheck because of it. I'm getting paid for my time. That's how you do it. I don't know, like, no, you can only do it in your free time and only on Sundays. What the fuck are you talking about? The people who criticize Joey and Ed because they have a Patreon or whatever the hell, it's just ludicrous to me. It's completely out of touch with the real world, and I think it hurts our movement.
You know, and you've got to think about these things, right? I mean, you've got to have cameras, you know. It's no use having a crappy little £150 camera. To the contrary, we should all be getting paid just for being vegan. Well, I'll tell you something. As you've got something there turning veganese, I think all vegans now should not have to contribute taxes towards the farmers' subsidies, animal farmers' subsidies, and we should have less contribution to the National Health Service in the UK because I ain't going into the National Health System through heart disease, stroke, cancer, or anything like that. Touch wood. It's, you know, so
well, if we had personal cap and trade carbon footprints, then we would all be paid for it because every corporation would be buying our surplus carbon emission abilities. I don't want to get too into the whole Roger versus the world thing, but I am one of the people who have faced Roger's ire. Anybody who says anything that he doesn't agree with is persona non grata, and I think that's dangerous. Just
I'll tell you why, Dave. I'll tell you why Roger's changed his attitude is because Joey started talking about rights violations and depression. Which he never used to do before. So this guy is evolved. Joey's evolved, you know. So like we all do, we learn as we go along. And this is what I mean. This is exactly what I mean about the gatekeeping. You can't hit people with this deeper philosophical views straight away because it's just mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing to me 3 years ago, and I've been vegan for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's only recently that I've got around to what a rights violation is, and some people aren't the same. Some people don't see things the same as other people. Some people don't get it.
Yeah.
It's took me all this time to get it, Sky, you know?
I completely agree with you. And there's things that I am evolving on. And you're one of the reasons why I've evolved one of my positions. And I think that's why we're friends, is because, you know, early on when I started this, my position was, if you're here for health reasons, you're not real vegan. I felt that way for a long time. Then I started meeting people like you, people like Lauren, Vegan Yoga Mama, and they're like, yeah, well, we started out that way, Sky, but that's how we were exposed to the ethics. And I was like, oh, I'm an asshole. I need to re-examine my position on that, you know. And if you're not evolving, you're dying. I'm sorry. You've got to be adapting to the situation. And as far as I can tell, by the way, there's not a bunch of people getting rich off of veganism. Ingrid Newkirk, who's the head of the largest animal rights organization in the world, pulls $35,000 a year on paycheck. That's all. She's one of the lowest paid CEOs in all of nonprofit work. 35,000. And we're talking about a massive organization. So I think that most people are in it for the right reason.
Right. Put Dave's last comment up. Right. Yeah. I am now a sentientist, negative utilitarian threshold deontologist. Right. All I see, right, is blah 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 blah. You know, it's just like I know what you're saying, Dave. It's just simple. Stop oppressing animals. Stop buying into the industry. And and another thing I want to talk about is people just being vegan. Right. Mm-hmm. That's another thing I've changed my attitude on. Now, I'm what we're trying to do is get people to go vegan. Yeah. Right. Once they are vegan, and I mean the full sense of the word, that they understand the animal rights side of it, they understand that it's cosmetics, it's food, it's clothing, it's entertainment, the full package. Now you're telling them, now you need to go out there and start doing something about it. No, I don't agree with that. I think they should, but if they don't, I'm quite happy, because all I want is people to stop contributing towards this industry. full stop, and see it as it is, and that's it. That's all I want them to do. So whether they want to get out and be active, I don't really care.
Well,
You
I
know?
care. I mean, okay, so can I add a little bit to that? Because I kind of agree. I think that, I mean, at its core, veganism is a boycott movement, right? I think everyone kind of agrees about that. It's a boycott. You boycott an industry, a massive industry that we think is causing an incredible amount of damage to humans, animals, the planet, everything. But I still would like more of us to be active. How do I get more to be active? Not by denigrating those who are just, you know what I mean? I'd like to get people off their couches, but
Yes,
but
agreed.
like George Martin said that funny thing that I think was more for humor than it's for humorous effect, right? That a vegan is just as good as a dead carnivore, and I think unless he's an activist, and I think that's kind of it's funny, but I think it's detrimental, and I think it hurts because people.
I would love to get everybody active, but you see, the thing is that the thing I found with that is that you inadvertently become a vegan activist anyway. You know, my statement that all I want to do is get people to go vegan is correct, right? I just want people to go vegan.
True.
Whether they're active or not, I don't care.
Yeah.
But what I found is that nobody who is totally vegan and gets it totally after time, they don't shut up about it. They will speak up about it in one way or another. So they will become active. Whether they get a YouTube channel and start going to We the Free or Save Movements or whatever, you know, that's the next step. But I think people will naturally.
I hope so. I hope you're right, and I think
I think I am right.
I think you might be. I think that though, through people like you and me, they might get active. Like you do your thing at the slaughterhouses. I do any action that I possibly can. I'm going across the country and doing activism and outreach. I feel like if they see people like us doing it, they realize that it's not the scary thing. They can do something. They can get up, ring a bell, blow a whistle. I mean, when I just did a fur protest in Chicago against Max Mara, and then we did another one the same within minutes of each other at Louis Vuitton. And Louis Vuitton, it started raining, and so we're standing out there in the Chicago wind and rain. And the megaphones, they're afraid they're going to break. So they cover them in plastic, and we're not going to use the megaphones. And so they just gave everybody whistles and cowbells. And there was someone with a recorder, like the musical instrument recorder. And we just started making a bunch of noise. Anybody can do that. Or some people, they weren't even comfortable doing the whistle. So they just gave them a sign to hang around their neck. And that's all you have to do is stand there with a sign around your neck. And it's so easy to make a difference. It's so easy to get out there and get active. And I definitely want that to be part of the message, but not at the cost. And this is where I agree with you. Not at the cost of saying like, well, fuck everybody who's not. You know what I mean? That's not how I feel.
Yeah, exactly. I think you put it more eloquently than I've put it. You know, definitely. But I mean, even people like Vegan Postmortem. I've never seen Vegan Postmortem. I've never seen the face ever.
Yeah,
but they are very, very active on YouTube, and they're amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah, I think they're great, and that can be done quite easily. You know, you don't have to show your face. You can be an anonymous voice. For the voiceless. You know,
absolutely, and I think that's the message that I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's all I mean. I mean, I agree. But I also want people to get more active, you know what I mean? And let me tell you though, Dan, it's been so inspiring going from campuses and seeing some of these student groups that they've got going on. It is truly an inspiration. And I'm having so many interesting conversations with people where, Ed does his college outreach, and where he sits at the table. Everyone knows Ed's style, right? He sits down at the table and he has an argument with somebody. And I guess like my arguments have been, I feel so much more productive than his. And maybe it's because we're not sitting down at a table, and sometimes it's me versus 4 or 5 people. Like yesterday it was me versus 4 or 5 people. And I had such a productive conversation, and it got heated, man, because sometimes these Christians get really, really heated about their God. And man, I'm so jazzed about it. And that young people are at least thinking about shit, you know?
Yeah, I think we're in an era now Of we've got. Have you heard of Big Brother? Have you ever heard of the
Oh, I
TV
remember. I
show
remember
Big
when it
Brother?
started. I was living
Well,
in Europe when it started. Yeah, it's
well,
big in England, right?
it's come back on after a 10-year break. It's actually
Oh,
back on our
really?
TV screens now.
It's been 10
And
years. Wasn't that one of the Tates on that show? Wasn't like
yeah, many moons ago. And
yeah,
the main one, yeah, and is it Andrew or Andrew Tate was on it.
Andrew Tate, yeah, the douchebag.
But again, it's I've lost my point now. But I think it's just watching the psychology of people and how they interact and what I've seen of these young people. That's our family point again now.
Yeah.
What I found it is that these young people are more aware now of how things are. They're more open to looking at things in a different way.
I think also they once they gave us cameras, right?
Name the Tate.
Name the Tate, yeah. Once they gave us cameras, I think that is when veganism started really taking off, because like I was vegan before everyone had a camera attached to their hip, and now you can see the brutality. The chances of you running into some of the things that we've seen online are quite high. And the more people who start seeing that stuff and seeing or just seeing someone like Wayne Shung talk about it, because I find him very convincing. When Wayne Shung starts talking about what's going on, I think that people that are reacting, and thinking about this shit.
What's that comment there from my channel? One vegan hater, freak shows. Oh, freak shows. Oh, listen, one vegan hater. We can send you a link if you'd like to come on and show us how unfreaky you are.
You always have. I don't think
Wit.
this person. I don't think vegan hater would ever show his face. He's too much of a coward.
No.
But like, he's always got. You always have the trolls. Why don't you just block them?
Make sure you take them ADHD meds on a regular schedule. Society thanks you. I don't know what you're talking about, mate. I don't know whether you're a troll or whether you're.
He's a troll. Yeah, I've seen this guy before. He's ableist. He's racist, and he's just a regular horrible person. So I mean.
Oh, listen, vegan hater. I'm sorry that you sat in your mum's cellar and like you're nearly 50 years old and like you're clinically obese and you're sat in your own shitty underpants and you have to call your mum to come and wipe your butt. So anyway, ban user, they banned.
Yeah, ban them.
So yeah, apart from the idiots,
Yeah.
I live as an activist. I don't even think about it, but I've had family tell me about it. After a while, it becomes natural. Yeah, it does. It does. And can I ask you, Vane Moynan, do you don't go in now all guns blazing? I assume that you've found a way to talk to people that keeps them interested, because I think talking to people and being interesting is key rather than talk at them. And
you got to wear both hats, though. I mean, like I had someone come in. So I had someone come yesterday. One of the first people I talked to, and they're like, "Oh, how convenient!" Like immediately, that's how they started talking. It's like, "Oh yeah, I love your alien theme. Oh, how convenient! Aren't you the ones who fucking kill fucking animals?" And that's like immediately because they're talking about euthanasia, and I'm like, which animals do you think you're talking about? What do you think? Why do you think the number's so high when it comes to all the animals who are being euthanized? Why do you think that happens? And it's just like, just completely biased before they even get there. And so with that person, I had to be a little rougher with than those who come at me a little bit differently. You know what I mean? You got to you got to wear both. Sometimes I'm also holding a megaphone. So
Benny Morning says it depends on the person. There you go. Yeah, exactly what I mean. It depends on the person.
Situational awareness, I guess, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said in my video, I said, you can lie, cheat, and steal to get them in the room. Somebody said, "Oh no, I wouldn't lie to them." I don't mean literally lie to them. I don't say, "Yeah, go to a vegan diet and you can instantly jump over 2-story buildings and fly," unless there's kryptonite about it. I don't say anything like that. But you can say. Yeah, exactly. You can say, yeah, definitely. I mean, Jesus Christ, if you sat with someone and they're saying, "Oh, I've got erectile dysfunction," and say, "Well, maybe that's because of you're eating dietary cholesterol, and one of the smallest arteries in your body are in your penis and the small of your back. Hence why people get lower back pain and get erectile dysfunction, and it's a precursor for heart disease and stroke and heart attack." Maybe if you go to a vegan diet, and now I don't mind saying vegan diet. Someone said plant-based, I don't mind saying vegan. That's another thing that I've changed as well. I don't mind saying vegan diet because I want that vegan word in there because I don't want them Googling plant-based diet. I don't want them to say, yeah, I've got erectile dysfunction. I'm going to go on a plant-based diet. I'm going to start Googling plant-based diets. No, I want them to Google vegan diets because once they Google vegan diets, then they get exposed to all the vegan
And they'll have some Joey Carson there.
propaganda.
Hey,
You
have
know,
you
so-
ever when you were a kid, did you watch Gilligan's Island?
No, I didn't. I've
Oh.
heard of it. The name rings a bell, but I can't recall ever watching it, so it can't have been that good.
It was brilliant. You know, 3 people, a bunch of people were stranded on an island, and they all had to go vegan because they basically lived on coconuts. And they made everything off of the island. I never saw them eat an animal on that show, and so I just think that if they could do it on the desert island, I think all of us can.
I mean, I did watch Bear Grylls The Island, and I did apply for that once and got first reserve on that as a vegan. Somebody did, because they were vegan, survive completely throughout the process on coconut, even though it does it bung you up or something?
Well, I think it bungs you out, doesn't it? I think that it makes you poop a bit. But
No one becomes non-pedophile for health or the environment.
Well, I did want to talk about that. It's Lee Harvey Oswald's birthday today. He was a former soldier and assassin. Do you guys think that Lee Harvey Oswald was the one who did it? Most people do. He was shot by Jack Ruby live on TV. There he is. Today's his birthday. Oswald assassinated John F. Kennedy in 1963 in November 26th.
Well, allegedly, didn't he? Allegedly, was it him?
Yeah, people say it was him. I think it was him. Pierre Trudeau's birthday today, man.
Is he the French? Is he the?
Yeah.
Is he? Why do I know that Trudeau? Oh, yes.
He's
Canada,
Justin Trudeau's father, I think.
Oh yeah, Canada, the
grandfather, maybe.
land of the let's bury our heads in the sand and prosecute people for exposing extreme cruelty in sentient beings like farms, etc.
They're very big into
know?
ag gag laws. Did you see yesterday that the fight that PETA had was finally that the ag gag, the people who were pro ag gag, the farmers of America, they took that case to the Supreme Court, and now that PETA, they decided in PETA's favor. The Supreme Court did.
So, which means what?
Decision PETA that it will be less Supreme Court leaving the Fourth Circuit's decision intact. Hold on one second. Give me a moment. Fourth decision intact. PETA's undercover investigative work is now confirmed to be protected by the First Amendment and supports much needed accountability across agricultural industry in North Carolina. So many states passed ag gag laws. Okay.
I didn't know that happened in the US as well. Wow.
Oh yeah, big time. Texas is a big problem. In South Carolina, mostly in the South.
Bye, kind of vegan. Thank you for stopping by. Enjoy work.
So North Carolina appealed in a dispute with the animal rights group over a law that prevents undercover employees from taking documents or recording videos, basically saying that whistleblowers aren't allowed to work for agriculture. And so Supreme Court defended it as part of First Amendment, which I think is huge. And so they've said we're not going to hear it. The court stands. I think that's great because I have so little faith in the Supreme Court right now, but it seems First Amendment still reigns supreme, even though it hurts us sometimes. First Amendment for the win, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course. I mean, this is something I'm really jealous of. I mean, we've got something very similar, common law in the UK, but your First Amendment laws, especially on free speech, you know, I mean, we can swear at the police and all that stuff, but if anybody's walking by, we can be prosecuted for causing harassment, alarm, and distress. So Section 5 public order and all this stuff. So we haven't really got free speech. We can't go around like saying what we want and everything. I mean, I suppose there's lines, you know. The
lines are blurry in America, though, and with the
very
First
much
Amendment,
so.
With the First Amendment, because it's a protected right and not since we have the Constitution, and the First Amendment is just freedom of speech mostly and separation of church and state, basically. So we have the number one rule is that you're allowed to say whatever the hell you want. That hurts us sometimes because that means that the KKK can march. That means that you can say offensive things on the stage if you're a comedian or whatever. That means all sorts of things that are sometimes really dangerous. For example, the First Amendment defends a corporation's right to give money to a politician because a corporation is a person, and so they have freedom of speech. So it's fucked up that we have.
Yeah, but I mean,
sometimes it hurts us, but I like it.
Let's have a look. What does Dave say? Can I ask you and Sky and GVG what you think of using the word sentientist more and vegan less? I've not really thought about it, Dave. I mean, I do understand sentientist. I do understand what you mean by that, but again, we need to. I mean, we talk about diluting the vegan message. I don't think the vegan message is being diluted. I just think it just needs to be more strongly sort of described to people. You know, like I said, you know, we can allow people to get into the environment of and hear the word vegan and think about, you know, oh, I'm on a vegan diet, but then we've got to say, right, okay, so this is what veganism is.
Yeah.
Take a look at Dominion. Take a look at this. This is what's happening. You know, you need to stop this oppression. Look at horse racing. Look at dog racing. Look at the leather industry, the fur industry, and yeah, we need to sort of drip feed it to people. But I think, yeah, we need to be careful now about.
I like my word
adding more
vegan.
irons. I like the word vegan.
I fought a long time to get veganism as a thing that people aren't afraid of. I fought a long time to get it to be a word that people know about. And sentientist is fine, I guess, but then you're talking about, well, are bivalves sentient? And I don't think that sentience is the end all be all. I also don't want to cut down trees for no reason. If you don't have to, you shouldn't do it. We had to survive, so we got to kill somebody, I think, or something. So I guess we'll have to kill some plants to eat. But I don't think we should just.
But we spend so much time arguing about the meaning of the word. I don't think we actually do spend much time arguing about the meaning of the word. I think when you are vegan and you are watching all these streams and everything, you may seem it talked about a lot in the vegan echo chamber.
Yeah.
And you will see the same arguments going round and round. But in reality, this is what I mean about in real life. We've got to start thinking about real life. It's all right us all chatting here in these little echo chambers to each other about things, and we can argue points like, do we kill predators? Do we do this? Is the vegan meaning being diluted and all this stuff? But we've got to look in the real world, you know. There's real people out there who've never been exposed to veganism, who've never thought about veganism, who wouldn't even go vegan for the animals because they don't really, in their minds, want to think about that. But they would look at veganism if it meant that they could get rid of type 2 diabetes or whatever. Get them in there.
And every movement has that too. Like people talking about civil rights during civil rights movement would say, well, what is a civil right? Which civil rights are we fighting for? Are we fighting for the right civil rights? I mean, and they would have those conversations just like we are. I
mean, we cancelled slavery. We got rid of slavery. But what did that do? It just let loose lots of ex-black slaves into a society that didn't give them any standing anyway. They weren't protected by law. They didn't have any human rights by law once they were freed. So then, you know, it's... I don't know what my point is on that one, but...
Well, no, I mean, it's just that it's hard to know what it means, what it means to have emancipation, and we had to argue about that. Every movement has those arguments, and I think it's a healthy part of it, and it's also kind of the fun part of it, isn't it? I mean, shit, I knew people in the peak oil movement, and they were arguing about how we're going to make it through peak oil, and it's like, you know, every movement has this, like,
oh man, I mean, we've had the activists blocking roads, right? And they brought in laws now where the police can actually just grab them and move them, you know, just stop oil protesters. And my wife was one. She's like, oh yeah, they're stopping ambulances getting to the hospitals and all this. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, the nurses and doctors went on strike. And I'm like, oh, Christine, all the people who need treatment, what are they going to do now? Well, they're striking for better pay. It's bad. Oh, so it's all right now that they put like patients' lives at risk to get something they want.
Oh, now it's okay.
And then we had the wildfires and the floods and people dying in all this extreme weather that's been brought on by environmental changes, brought on by our use of fossil fuels and oil. And I'm like, there you go. You know, okay, a few people didn't make it to hospital and may have died, but what about the thousands dying in all these unnatural events that have been like influenced by our choices of fuel and what we do to the planet? It's like people don't look at the long picture, the long goal of everything, do they?
No, they don't. And and they don't like it looking in the mirror either, because they're doing the same shit. It's just everybody else. Oh, we want that nice activism, don't we? Want that nice activism, but at the same time, when you try to that nice activism, handing flyers out and saying like, this is what I do. A great part of my day is, hey, I'm here to raising awareness about animals in labs. Would you mind if I gave you a little information? And people just like, like
there's a fine line.
Terrified.
There's a fine line where we can just tiptoe across this fine line. We can dip into the environment if we wish. If we can dip into the health side of things. We can swing and move left and right if we want to, because we're going down this road that will ultimately end in that person looking at the animal rights message and saying, wow, I never knew that. Whereas if we sort of go straight down and we barge into them and we start saying, this is the message, what we want, it's not a fucking diet, it's not an environmental issue, it is this, they might just sod off and go through that next door and we never see them again. And that's not productive.
I think that disruptions work. And I think that when we're trying to rouse people awake, that's what we need to do. So yesterday, something interesting happened. We're doing our activism and we're handing out pamphlets and having conversations and all that stuff. And then a mass of people musters in front of one of the main buildings, and they all have the flags of Palestine, and they're wearing the scarves and the head coverings that I always associate with a Yasser Arafat, that black and white head covering he would wear. And we went to go to, they're massing, it's a big group of people. It's getting bigger and bigger as we're packing up. And so we left, I could kind of hear what they're saying, and it's obvious what they say, right? I don't really need to tell you what they're saying. It's all the same stuff that is always said around times of war. And then we're eating dinner and we hear a bunch of ruckus outside, and we're on the second floor of a restaurant. And we look down and all those people are in the street marching, making some noise and blocking the street, blocking traffic. And I'm like, immediately I'm a little jealous, because why can't the animals have something like that? There's 50,000 animals being slaughtered every second. And we're not taking to the street and marching like that. There aren't people blocking traffic for that. And when you see those Stop Oil people, there's such a small number of people actually doing the disruption. It feels like we're doomed. But all of a sudden, a bunch of it was probably a couple hundred people. Try getting a couple hundred people all in one place for the animals. And
I don't know. I think we've had quite a few sort of. I mean, this is all about creating publicity, creating public awareness by creating events that cause disruption and cause news reports, and using the media as a voice, as an amplification for your message. And I think we've had quite a few protests and marches, and yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean, look at what's going on in Israel at the moment. It's going to divide people. In the UK, we've already had a lot of schools shut down, Jewish schools shut down, and everything, because of fear of reprisal, because we've got a high Muslim population in the UK as well. But a lot of these people who are doing the protesting and are threatening these Jewish schools or synagogues or whatever have no idea of how Israel started and what the history is. Yeah. My comparison is Northern Ireland, right? We took over Ireland because it was an outpost and it was a threat to UK sovereignty. And we've had terrorist attacks and everything, but now we're at a point where we're not going to retreat out of Northern Ireland, and so we're not going to encroach any further into Southern Ireland. So the only thing you can do now is just come to a peaceful agreement and all live together. And that's what needs to happen in Gaza and Israel. But unfortunately, this Hamas people, they're not for repatriating the people of Palestine. What they're for
No.
is annihilating completely the Jewish population, which
That's
is the thing that's wrong about all this. Otherwise, I could
yeah.
understand it.
Every time I hear a liberal defend Hamas, I'm always thinking like, did you just Google how they treat women? Just Google their position on freedom of speech and books. Like they would murder you just for what you're saying now. And it's like it's such a dangerous organization to get behind. People will say things like free Palestine and the rest, and I'm going, that is a great bumper sticker, but that is not really, you're not really able to free Palestine. There's no way to free Palestine. There's just right now there's Hamas and there's the people of Israel.
There's second and third generation kids living in Israel now. It's established. It's you can't just displace. But then again, on the flip side of the coin, Israel want to displace over 1 million people out of the north of Gaza, and
Well, they want Gaza. Yeah.
You know,
And
it's like,
and that's
well,
why when it happened, I said it's complicated, man. Like I think that the Israeli government has acted in a way that I think is akin to fascism, and I think that they are oppressing a large group of people. But also, there's a terrorist organization in charge of the remnants of whatever you want to call Palestine. Is it even a country at this point? Like, what is it if Hamas is in charge? So you have these major it's very complicated, and the only thing I could say is that I'm against violence and I'm against oppression. Where does
yeah,
that
I mean
leave me?
that's all you can say, because you don't know the dynamics of it. You don't know the reality of what's working in there. All you can see is the propaganda that is put out by Israel and by Palestine. In essence, the whole thing is just wrong, and how it's moved, and then
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of Palestinian people there who are beautiful, normal people
Of
who
course.
would, at the drop of a
Who
hat,
care
just
about
say,
their
"Yeah,
children.
Hamas are there in that house. Hamas are there in that house." They would do, but
Mhm.
would you risk the death of your children to point the finger
That's
at where these people are? They're under a
totally.
reign of terror. It's just the saying, in between a rock and a hard
And
place.
people talk
That's
in
where
these
they are.
absolutes, and the absolutes annoy me in this case because people will say things like, well, Muslims are using their children as bullet shields, and I'm like, no, they're not. Some are, because some are radicalized, but that is not everyone cares about their children. Everyone wants to live. Everyone wants to be free. That's what all of us want. All animals want to be free, all of us. And so it's so weird that people will like paint one group of people as just this one thing. And the same thing happens with the Jews. The people are painting Israelis as if they're just all one thing. They're not. They're a diverse group, just like everybody, just like
Correct.
vegans, for God's sake. We don't all agree. Like we have nuance, we have the differences of opinion. It's just so
And the
idiotic
thing
to me.
is, the press are very. Hello, Paul Campbell from Galway City.
Yeah, and Leo Serrano says like the people of Palestine are not Hamas. Exactly, have been living in an open air prison or concentration camp for years. See what I mean? So Palestine are not Hamas, but he also says the people of Palestine have been living in. Also not true. The people of Palestine are not all living in an open air prison. Some are, not all are. It's just like it's fucking annoying that everyone wants to say, oh, everything is like this, and taking these big broad brushes and trying to come in with a machete instead of a scalpel. And I'm telling you, this is what a machete looks like. What we're getting right now. That's what it looks like.
You see, it has effects everywhere. I mean, we can sit back and say, "Oh, it's just the Middle East; it's nothing to do with us." But like I said, they've shut Jewish schools down in the UK and other places, other countries. I don't know about the US. It does have effects on everybody, and
My-
it's not
my
nice to
co-host-
think that 40% of the population of Palestine are kids under the age of 16. It's like,
Or
you
how
know,
about, or the fact that my co-host on Sundays is afraid to send her child to school because she's Jewish. Like this is something where it's affecting a lot of us.
and what's it going to do when they just randomly bomb Palestine, or they go in and shoot innocent people or innocent kids? You're just breeding more terrorists
Mhm.
by doing this, you know. But it's not my. I shouldn't speak on it really, you know. I can only speak about, like I said, I see things in black and white, and I see something that has escalated, and it's not right. And
I'm
I
actually
think
really afraid, Dan, because I said yesterday I'm glad I'm the age I am, because the last time I saw shit like this go down, we were overextended someplace else, someplace in Eastern Europe, probably Kosovo or someplace like that, or Serbia. America was overextended. Britain was overextended. The American and her friends were spread thin. Then something sparked off in the Middle East, and then just takes one more little thing, and we're going to see boots on the ground in the Middle East, and we'll be in another 20-year war.
and this
And
is where social media comes in. Sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
but TikTok have been berated by certain governments because they're allowing misinformation to appear on. And this is the frightening thing, that is, now we've got AI, and now we've got all these videos that we can do with people not speaking the words that they were speaking originally. We
mm,
can have people saying things that are pretty sort of inflammatory, and we can cause a lot of problems just by using the conflict in the Middle East to cause conflict elsewhere in other countries. So this is the scary thing: is media is a great driver of this. We can show one side, and we can show. I mean, I saw a set of photos once, and it showed these kids like crouching down, and then they show the full picture, and they're crouching down because they're playing hide and seek, not hiding from soldiers. And
mm,
you can paint all sorts of pictures with media that are not
yeah.
true and give people the wrong impression of what's really going on.
Well, one thing is for certain, that something horrible is afoot in the Middle East, and it's another situation that we're going to have to muddle through. And I'm really, I'm really thankful that I won't be called, because I don't know. I do not want them to. Do you remember when the last Iraqi war happened? It happened in your country too, where all of a sudden young people in the National Guard are being called up. They call it what do they call the National Guard there, like your volunteer forces, your auxiliary
The
services.
territorial army,
Yeah, the
the
territorial
reserves,
army.
yeah.
The reserves, right? And they started calling up the reserves, and the Queen had to sign off on it, and it was a really big deal because the Queen didn't want to sign off on it, and she did, and all of a sudden, we're all at war in the Middle East, in Iraq, and it took us years and years and years to get out. A lot of my friends did not come back the same way, and some came back maimed, and all of them came back disturbed. That's the future now, where I just do not see it turning out with Ukraine and the Middle East at war. Shit, dude.
Well, again, I mean, all this war and Ukraine and Israel and all this thing is people use an excuse. Why are you advocating for animal rights when
Hmm.
there's wars going on? There's bigger things there's bigger fish to fry,
Or
as they
fish to
say.
free.
Yeah, so it's like, well, just because there's wars going on doesn't mean that I can't speak about other issues that are happening that are close to my heart.
Absolutely, and justice is
Should
justice.
yeah, should we go back to injustice? Should I go back to my steaks on a Friday night just because there's a war in Ukraine, because there's a war in the Middle East? So
Mhm.
it's bullshit.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you, and I think it's I got to drive for 15 hours down to Denver, so I'll see you in Denver, I guess.
Yeah, Denver.
Yeah,
Where's that?
Denver's in just north. It's in the Midwest. No, it's not in the Midwest. It's definitely this. Okay, so Denver's in Colorado, and it's a mile high. It's a mile off above sea level,
Bye,
and
Leo.
it's cold there, and it's really high up. I'll have altitude sickness likely for a couple days, but I'll be there for a week. I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't been to Denver for a few years. It's beautiful there. Jack Kerouac used to write about Denver. It's a cool town. Anyway, it's in Colorado. I guess it's technically the Southwest, I guess you'd call it.
So, how many more places have you got to visit now? How much longer have you got on this epic mission of yours?
I've got Denver, Salt Lake City, Berkeley, Davis, UCI, and then I'm driving back across the country.
Back home. Will you be glad to get back home?
Yeah, actually, I'm driving away. UCI is actually really close. Irvine is right next to my house. So my last stop is right next to home. And then I'm driving the truck back to across the country again, back to Virginia, and then flying back.
Oh my God.
I know, man. It's so
Wow.
hardcore. Yeah.
Well, listen. It's been epic what you've done. It's amazing what you're doing, and I think it's great.
Thanks,
It's
man.
absolutely amazing.
I'm trying to like keep up with everything. I'm probably gonna have to make a bunch of videos when I get back. I'm trying to like release things as I'm doing it, but it's just hard to edit and it's just a lot. But I'm having really interesting conversations and having a really good time doing it. It's been great. And my mother was from Wisconsin, and I really didn't think she had an accent, but I started talking to people here, and they all talk kind of like my mom, and it's really kind of funny because it's bittersweet, really, because everyone who opens their mouth and starts talking like, and especially a certain age group, they talk like my mother, who I never really thought had much of an accent, but she definitely did.
Yeah, I have the same. I have the same when I go to Stoke-on-Trent, where my dad's from, and I hear the people in Stoke-on-Trent talk. It's like, I was used to hearing that accent all my life, and when I lost my dad, it's like, oh, that's he sounds like my dad. It's just yeah, it brings back memories.
It definitely, yeah. It's weird. It's a weird one. All right, well, I appreciate you so much, man, and I'll see you in a month probably.
I appreciate you, and yes, I shall see you in a month. I will tell you all about my Polish sort of exploits.
I see your bag packed back there.
Yeah, my bag's packed. I've got my Polish flag. Oh, it's the wrong way up. It's that way up.
Yeah.
I've got my Polish flag. Laura sent me that. She keeps sending me random things in the post. My missus said, we tell that Laura to stop sending you stuff. We've got enough shit in this house without her sending stuff. But yeah, I'd just like as a bit of a closing statement to all the people who saw my last video. Thanks for watching it and thanks for commenting on it. If you haven't seen it, just go on it and have a look and have a listen. And like I said, it's a knee-jerk response. I mean a lot of what I say, and some of it maybe I don't mean it, but make your own minds up. Put a comment on there and just see how it makes you feel. And yeah,
I like it. All right. Well, also thanks to the Patreon subscribers. Don't forget to patreon.com/vegan of course, veganofcourse.net. Buy a t-shirt for the love of God. And if you aren't already subscribed, you're over on Dan's channel, please subscribe to Vegan of Course on YouTube. It looks like most of our viewers are already over on my channel, but if you haven't already subscribed, please do. That would help.
Are you making money off veganism?
Pennies. Yeah. Well, I guess I would be through PETA. I'm making a little bit more through PETA than I am through this. This is a labor of love for sure. Yeah, making it rain. We're spending all this money at the strip clubs.
And the same goes for Sky's viewers. Please jump over. I've got lots of videos on there. You can watch hundreds of videos on my channel about all sorts. You can see how I've evolved, how my views have changed. You can see some amazing daft stuff, some really deep stuff, and some really horrible investigations that I've done. But yeah, please jump over and take a look at my videos and comment.
Hell yeah. All right. See you later, guys. This is a channel for vegans.
It's so hard to not abuse animals.
Carnies can fuck themselves. Go fuck themselves.
This is a channel for vegans. This is a channel for vegans. This is a channel for
just as a reminder, tomorrow I will be live as part of the pre-shift, but I will be in a different time zone. So I think I'm going back in time. So I might be at an earlier hour. So if you have the bell icon pressed, you will get a notification about that. Until then, illegitimate non-carborundum. Wish me luck on my long drive to Denver. Illegitimate non-carborundum. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Thank you so much for everything.